Most coaches don't realize that they have 5 or 6 figures of revenue just sitting and waiting right under their nose, waiting to be generated over the next few months. While they look at all the other coaches and say, "Why are they doing so? Why does everybody else seem to be doing so much better than I am?" Well, today I'm going to show you what I do, how I fit into a process of working with coaches, partnering up with them, and having these moving up conversations that I have with their low ticket buyers, moving them up into their higher ticket programs and making them into higher ticket clients for life. So it's the first time joining one of my lives. I'm Brian Czekanski, and I help coaches in particular 10x their high ticket programs, masterminds, one-to-one programs, group programs, all along the way by helping them realize all that revenue is that's kind of sitting there waiting to, really hidden right underneath their nose. And the way I do it is really by having these on their behalf, having these move up conversations at the right time with their past buyers, and kind of shepherding them through from courses to challenges to any number of low ticket things. It could be something as simple as their book or anything like that. Anything that really starts to build that relationship between their buyers and that end coach, and brings them forward into that higher ticket program. So it might be a 5, 10, 20, 30K type of program along the way. Along with that, getting people into masterminds and some of that reoccurring revenue in there as well. So just wanted to show you an example of how I actually do this and what it looks like for a lot of coaches, and some of the mistakes that people are making along the way. So this is kind of a brief illustration of what it looks like. So this is what a typical coaching model looks like. At the low end, we have these low ticket buyers that come in with an online course. This could be a challenge. This could be this could be a workshop. Anything that, low ticket for me is anywhere from $1 in terms of somebody putting down money, but all the way up to 2,500. But it's key that we're thinking about buyers here, because there's a big differentiation between those buyers and those kind of freebie seekers, because those people that actually put down money, even if it's $1, are much more motivated to take action. They're much more motivated to participate and start to build a relationship with that guru, with that coach. And actually that affinity is a big part of what I do in terms of moving people up. If they're not participating, if they're not taking action, if they're not building a relationship with you as the coach and not getting some sort of results, they're less likely to move forward. They're very much kind of a cold, even though you might have them on their email list, or you might be sending them SMSs, they're just not building the level of a relationship the way that a buyer would, even if they spend $1 in terms of getting into your program and following along in that way. So typically what happens is, like most coaches will try and get as many people as possible into these online course or whatever the low ticket product they have along the way. And what they hope is, like, certain percentage will obviously go through that online course. It's not everybody. It might be 5% or less that actually follows through and goes through that online course and gets results. But every coach just kind of hopes that they go on to that next step. If they get great results, they're going to naturally reach out about my one-to-one program or my group coaching program, or whatever that next step is. Usually a price target around like 5K, all the way up to maybe 30K, depending on what the level of the coach gets into it. So I sell kind of for one of my coaches, I sell a 2-day intensive where he charges a price tag of 30K. So that just gives you an example. Other ones that do just one-to-one work at 5K or 10K, things like that. So there's the ranges based on what's the level of involvement, what's included, all those kind of things. And then again, there's kind of another transition period where, again, they might be going through one-to-one or group program, but you have to have another conversation once they're done that 6 months or 12 months, going on to that next thing. Like, what is that next thing? And this is where I talk to a lot of coaches and they just don't have that next thing. They just go back into kind of cycling back and just like, okay, how can I get more people into my online course? How can I get more people into my one-to-one or group program? And that's typically, like, this is what I talk about with coaches all the time. That's a mistake, where people should, you should have an option, whether it's a mastermind or maybe it's in these one-to-one or group programs. Like, how can you renew them for maybe another 12 months? Because people, especially if you're getting people results, they're getting, sharing testimonials, they're going to want to work with you more. And those people are a lot easier to work with because you build some trust, you built a relationship with them, instead of going back to a cold audience, or maybe somebody that has spent $2,500 with you. Why not continue and put an offer in front of that person to work for another 12 months or get into a larger community where they can be part of a mastermind of people that have worked with you in the past, gotten great results, or maybe you could sell into that mastermind as well. So like most people just get into the track of okay, I've got this ascension model. I've got to get all these people into the course. That will feed into my one-to-one and group programs. And then hopefully over the years, that will build up a mastermind. Whereas, in each of these different options, you can sell them with the right process in going through that, whether you've got a sales team or by kind of working with my process, which doesn't involve any sales calls whatsoever, but is really just kind of working with each of these stages, each of these segments of the audience that you might have, and thinking about how can I have a one-to-one sales conversation with them without asking them to jump on a sales call. I just have, like number one, I put the opportunity that your one-to-one coaching or your mastermind or your group coaching is all about to kind of catch their attention. But then having a one-to-one sales conversation via email or DM or SMS. So I'm not asking for their time. They respond back when it makes sense for them. I do the same thing from my side. And again, some of these conversations can take place over weeks or months. They might come back to me after and say like, okay, like this is not the right time for me right now, but 6 months from now, it will be a good time. I've had that happen with partners, coaches that I've worked with where, okay, like they said, okay, it's not the top priority for me right now, but I'm still interested in this. 5 months later, 3 months later, they come back to me and say like, hey, can we re-engage in that conversation that we had? And it makes it really easy because we already have that email trail. So I can just go back and kind of just cycle down to the emails that I have in terms of like, absolutely, let me refresh my knowledge of everything that you shared about. I've already done the qualifying. I've already shared a little bit more about the offer. All those kind of things are great. So it's very easy to kind of pick up that conversation without asking somebody to book a time on the calendar and kind of restart the whole process of going through a 45-minute sales call where he's got to jump on with a different salesperson he talked to before. I can kind of just pick up the conversation wherever your leads or your past buyers are to re-engage them, reintroduce that offer, and get them back into the mix where we're kind of moving people up again into that one-to-one or group programs or that mastermind that you're looking for. And again, that ability to kind of move people up instead of hoping and praying that they naturally start asking about your offer. Think about most coaches, it might be for you as well. Like, do your buyers that right now in your courses or whatever they have right now, they have knowledge of what your higher ticket offerings are? I think if you went to them, you probably say like, yeah, I remind them all the time. But what typically happens, especially with your buyers, is they're not quite sure. I mean, they're kind of inundated with all this information on a daily basis. So they might have heard about it once or twice, but never really paid attention to what it was. So the ability to kind of engage with them, have a one-to-one sales conversation, really personalize it to them, handle their objections, handle their questions without asking them to, spend an hour watching a webinar or go into a 45-minute sales conversation. They can go back and forth with me via email, again, SMS or like a direct message, and I can close them via that. And the great part is for a lot of my coaches, I do that all on a rev share basis. So no money, no upfront investment on their part. I only get paid when I'm able to close people. So I feel really confident. Like, obviously I feel really confident in my skills and based on the results and everything else. So like, that's why I have the ability to kind of take on that risk, that upfront investment. And obviously I don't work with all the coaches that are out there, but this kind of gives you just an idea of, again, the ascension model that most coaches have. They kind of hope and pray that people move up along the way as they get results. There's a way of more proactively putting your high ticket offers in front of people, having that more personalized one-to-one conversation with people, answering their objections, kind of personalizing your offer to their unique situation, putting the right testimonials in front of them to kind of answer that special snowflake objection that I talked about yesterday. And especially from the mastermind perspective, you have the opportunity to get people in there right away. So even if they weren't a past buyer of yours, like these are where I can step in, especially for running ads or doing any kind of affiliate marketing. I can get people right into your mastermind that are the right fit for you and have those one-to-one sales conversations at scale. So like you can only have so many sales calls on a weekly basis, but I can have hundreds of these conversations on a weekly basis. So it allows you to kind of enroll people at a much higher level and fill up all that unused capacity that you might have built into your mastermind or one-to-one coaching or group coaching. This obviously takes a lot of investment to hire out coaches and that personnel and run events and all those kind of things. So I can fill all those things at scale by having a lot more sales conversations and really getting a sense for who's on your list, who are those leads, who are those buyers, and how can I personalize that your offer to them without any time investment, without you having to hire a huge sales team, or without you jumping on sales calls yourself. So hopefully that makes sense along the way. It's a little bit different from what you've seen before, that classic ascension model of, okay, you build it and people will come hopefully along the way as they get results. Typically what happens is that doesn't always happen that way. So I've got a more proactive approach to get people involved, have those more personalized conversations. And what that results in is an extra 5 to 6K of revenue for most coaches that I work with on a month-to-month basis, and obviously, on an annual basis, creates an additional profit center that they didn't even know they had under their fingertips. So, hope that made sense. In the comments below, let me know what stood out in terms of moving buyers up along the way, kind of that moving up conversation that you might not have as part of your price process right now. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Always talking about how I can 10x your high ticket programs. Have a great week, everybody.